drove up or drove down, Joe, I think
Nothing
it's
happens
an
when you go
illusion.
down,
It's an
it's only when you
optical
come
illusion,
down.
I
It's an
think.
optical illusion.
It's an optical illusion.
Well,
So we
I hear
drove
all
up,
these stories
and
the,
we came down again. Well,
Yeah.
I've know anyone else that it never happened to. But anyhow, your father and I went into absolutely hysteria, sitting at the bottom of this hill, waiting to be pulled up it, and we never get pulled up.
Don't- isn't there anyone there to tell you what to do?
Yeah. Oh, everybody else. It seemed like everybody else.
Come right up the hill, when all of it, they turned the motor
I
off
think
and
it's like the
everything,
wind.
and went out to the state and stopped us right by the place we started from, only on the other side of the street.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
You stop and then you go up the other side of the street. But nothing happened the day
Nothing
we were
happened
there.
to us other
And
than
the same with that tidal bore.
Oh,
we,
jeez, tidal
we
bore.
stayed at that motel,
Right.
see, there all night. We went up and we missed it in Johnston. I missed it.
Yeah.
So we, the next time I went in the hotel and stayed. We said we would be there when it comes this time. They would have fooled us. So we went up and when they said the tidal bore come downstairs, we took our motel and down, and it busted. They had the lights all turned on. It was beautiful. Did you see it?
Yeah,
Joe, tell
That's why I went back the second time.
This is for the title ball we're talking about.
Yeah.
But at a different time I went.
Yeah. All right.
Is it on, Craig?
Yeah, it's on. You're on. Tell us about the title ball.
Oh, so Jerry and I and Aunt Betty and Mother, we went up there and we dumped Nana in St. John or wherever we left you, and we decided we're going to take in the circuit, so we went up to Magnet Hill. So anyway, then we get up to Moncton to see the reversing tide. So we were there in the afternoon, late in the afternoon, and we waited and waited and waited. We were in the hotel, had a couple of drinks, and came back out and waited and waited. And all of a sudden it came roaring in. It was about 2 inches high. It was a ripple.
The one I saw was high like that.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Run right out of the mud, right up to the... And
It all comes in very quickly, the bay fills up very quickly.
Yeah, that's the reason Johnson and I missed it the first time.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We thought it was something that come in. You could look at it any time you wanted to.
Yeah. So anyway, we studied a little bit more, and we said, well, it's supposed to be pretty good, so we'll wait till the morning. So we decided to get a hotel and stay there for the night to see this thing in the morning.
The one right there at the place?
The one right
That's
there,
where we
yeah.
stayed too.
Yeah. So we finally got the room and get all settled in and all that, and who was sleeping where. It was a lot of fun.
But you know,
Figuring out who
Joe,
was doing. But anyway, the next morning we get up early, to see the tide come in the next morning. And we're down there freezing like a son of a gun, and we're waiting for this big thing to come in. And sure enough, it came in exactly the same way, about 2 inches high, the reversing fall. What is it, the tidal bore. Oh, what a phony deal that was.
well, I don't know. I don't know. Right there, they always put the very minute up in that field there.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
They put just exactly what time it's going to come in.
Yeah.
And I made so many trips up there. I better not see it, and I did.
Well, you were lucky.
we
'cause
did
didn't
too,
see
but we
much.
don't know what we saw.
And they had the lights all turned on.
It's all floodlighted and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all I know is that I've been hearing all these stories about the magnetic hill, and I've been telling people about it. And I went up to Maine, Whitewater Rafting, and I told Butch about it, and Butch, he hasn't stopped giving me a hard time every time I tell him about it.
Which is
Barry
very
Allen's Butch, yeah.
Yeah, he's mentioned.
Did you go up?
No, we didn't go, but I was telling him about it, and he doesn't believe it, So now, the only one who's going to support me, Nana, is you.
Yeah, well,
Everybody I've ever talked to
I
says
went
it
down
does
that
work.
hill and I come up and I wasn't no fooling about it. I landed, come up the hill, nobody was driving.
I parked that car in more places trying to get that thing to go, but it didn't go anywhere.
Place we left. I'm telling you.
We parked where the sign said park, and we parked it
First
there.
of all, we couldn't see a hill. We were expecting.
Yeah, it's a slope.
We were expecting a good
Wow,
size
there's a
hill.
big hill at the end, right?
And I think that's what happened. We're sitting at the wrong hill. First of all, we were sitting at, one of the first time we were sitting at the wrong hill.
Well,
Well,
Joe,
it did-
now
And because
right-
it is just
right
a
up
small
there, quite
grade.
handy that
Yeah.
they've got a
And
great
whether it really
big
happened or
motel
not.
built.
Yeah.
They had opened it up the last time I was down there. Great mammoth motel where you can stay all night. People don't have to drive
Stay
in.
all night, eh?
Yeah, stay all night. Oh, I've had trips everywhere, so help me. I went to Peggy's Cove and I went all through Halifax and all through the
Remember,
arsenal there.
there's one story that you didn't tell that I think it's kind of important. I think it was kind of an interesting story, and I'm sure you've told the kids 100 times before, is the story of the train wreck after you came home from England.
Oh, when I come home, no, that was I was going to
You
England.
were going to England, that's right.
Oh, that was something, I'm telling
What
you.
happened?
What year was this now again?
Now, let me see. It was the year I went to England, and I went to England, that was 20,
2, 3.
let's see. I was
Same
married
year you
in-
got married,
I
right?
always
22.
start, I got married in 23, and Betty was born in 1925. Now,
Oh,
what-
22. Oh, the
what-
year before, so 22.
it was 22. Well, I was going to England anyway,
Yeah.
sure, yes.
And you had taken a train.
No, it wasn't. It was 23 because
Same
I
year.
got married in 23.
And you got married right
So you
after
were
that.
taking a train from New
And
Brunswick to
no,
St. John to Montreal?
I took a train no, Fredericton. I got on at Fredericton. No, I got on at Marysville because that train went right through. Through.
And what happened?
Well, I had a steamer trunk. As I told you, I had to have a steamer trunk because you had to have it so that you push onto the thing. Because where I was in a room, there was like a bunk up here, here, and here, and here. 4, see?
Sleeping.
Well, I went in the middle of the night. No, this was a little later on. Well, anyway, Pup and I got on, and I can remember Mr. Hallett, he was the station agent. He come running in Zula, come to say goodbye to us that night, rushing out, because the train left at 6:45. And my Frank,
Your younger brother.
he come to say goodbye, and he'd been out on a bicycle, and he just barely made it. Well, anyway, we got on the train, and we traveled all night long. We went the whole length of New Brunswick from St. John up to Fredericton, up to Edmundston is where you cross the border to go into Quebec. We went through Quebec, not into the city at this time, through the province of Quebec, clear up to this place. I think I tried to remember the name of it, but I can't remember the name of the place. And it was 6 o'clock in the morning. It was just coming daylight. See, so all of a sudden, Papa stayed in the first class car because Papa never missed anything when he went traveling. It wasn't anything he was going to miss. I had a sleeper. And on the car behind me was the eating place. You know, what is
Dining
it?
car.
Dining car. Anyway, 6 o'clock in the morning, bango! I went from one end of that thing to the other. And I can remember they had a little bag hanging by the window that you put your hairpins in and all your night stuff that you wanted. That bang, and looked such a bang you can never imagine. It was a train head-on collision. A freight train ran into our train.
Wow.
Ran into it stole a switch. Is that what you call it? They stole a switch. The freight train. It was coming from Quebec.
Yeah.
We were coming from we were over in the Quebec province.
So what happened?
Well, anyway, I told you about the crash.
Yeah.
And in a few minutes, Papa come running down the aisle. He said, "Are you all right, Nellie?" And I said, "Yes. Why? What happened?" And he said, "All my stuff flew everywhere." And he said, "It's a head-on collision, and it's a terrible one," he said to me. He said, "Get your clothes on and come out to the steps." I went out. And that two engines was jammed into each other and smashed to pieces. And all the ones that had the coal cars and everything were all laying out. When we got out there with blankets over them, you know,
They were
on the
dead,
side. Yeah, this side seemed to be kind of a hill, and this side of the train seemed to be kind of a level place.
Yeah.
And they had them all laid out there. And we hung around there with nothing to eat, you know. And along about, sometime in the middle of the morning, they had gone someplace and brought all the people that was on their feet something to eat. Well, we hung around there all day long, and you know, the cars and the trunks and everything was all smashed and everything. And I don't know what happened, but my trunk was sitting right up on the side of the hill where the little, you know how tracks usually go up the hill, the incline there. It was sitting up there and it didn't even have a scratch on it. And I said, I always carried a Bible in my suitcase, in my,
Sure.
and it never had a scratch on it. Well, we found that, and everybody was scouring around. Some of them weren't going on the boat, but they were going to some part up in Quebec, see?
Yeah.
Because we was only about, well, I think we must have gone through Campbellton there at the borderline. It must have been after dark, because I don't remember going through there.
Yeah.
And we were on an express train, you know what I mean? And look, there was clothes all over everywhere, and there was people killed. When I was going out to get in, they had brought one of them in, and he was dying. He was on one of the seats in the, and we stayed there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, waiting for a train to come through from Quebec State,
Province,
that city,
No.
to pick us up.
Mhm.
And we must have been around like 4 o'clock, and it was getting on to dark when we got into the station, into Quebec. And I remember they took me and Papa in you know, when the driver sit up here, and then there was a seat in behind.
Yeah.
Papa and I was in the seat, and the driver was driving the horse.
Yeah.
Was driving the horse, and we got into the station, and we had to stay there until we went in there to buy something to eat. We neither one of us could talk French. we managed to make them understand what we wanted,
Yeah.
you know, to eat, something to eat.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we had to stay there till 12 o'clock at night in that place, and I can only remember Papa and I and maybe one more man that was there that was able to go on that boat that night. And the boat came in from Montreal into Quebec to the wharf, but it didn't come into the wharf, the boat that we were going to get on. It stayed out in the middle of the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
And then at about 12 o'clock they come for us, and they brought a tender over from the big boat over to put us on, and to take us over to put us on the boat.
Yeah.
I think it was called the Canadian. It was a big boat, but not half as big as the Doric. The Doric was the biggest boat that came into Montreal. That was the one we come home on. And well, that we got our lunch there, and they took us out on this tender, and it was all open top on it, you know. You just kind of stood on it, and then they took us up the gangway up into the boat, and then they put Papa where he was going, and he had to go to the men's apartment, and I went in. There's 3 other people in the bunks with me.
Was it a class ship then, remember? Was it first, second, and third class on those ships?
We were tourists. I don't know what difference. No, I don't think there was first, second, and third class. No, we had tourist tickets, you know.
But were you able to go all over the boat?
Oh, we traveled all over. That's all we done for 10 days. We were on the boat 10 days.
But I didn't know if you had to stay
And
in
there was
one
one
level or not.
little girl there. She was about 14 or 15, and she took a notion to me. And with the 2 of us would walk together. But everybody walked 2 and 2 all around the boat after dark, you know, and and they always had moving pictures or something at night downstairs. I never bothered to go down.
But you weren't confined to any one part of the ship?
Oh, no,
You were allowed to go
no,
everywhere.
no. We went down to our breakfast in the morning and our dinner at noon. They rang a bell or something. And we were in with all the head guys, that worked on the boat and everything. Oh, sure, no, there was nothing like that. No first class, second class, third class. We were tourists. We were on the tourist travel, see?
Yeah, right.
And so anyway, I'm telling you, I've done some traveling in my day.
Okay, we're gonna take another.
Well, there
Well,
to get to the other place.
Grandpa's house and to see
Go
where
to
your mother was
go
born.
to
You're right.
New Brunswick.
Because that's the beautiful
But
part,
you
where your
to
mother's
go
born
down
will always be in our
down
family.
to down in Halifax. There's so many things to see. Of course, there's that Cabot Trail. Well, I wouldn't go up it myself. That they go up by car, you know.
Yeah.
The way up. Oh, it's awful. I wouldn't go up it myself. but we went down to Halifax, and then we went over to Annapolis, across the harbor, and then we went down to Halifax, and we stayed all night for a couple of nights, and then we went away up to Peggy's Cove, and all up that side of Nova Scotia, and then up to Digby. Oh, the scenery and everything, and things are so rural.
Yeah.
You couldn't believe what you see. I enjoyed those trips. And then Josephine and Lil and I, we take the car and we go, and you can go right over to Prince Edward Island, right on the boat. They put the car right on the boat, you know.
Yeah.
And you go over there, and then we stayed at. I forget the name of the place right now. I used to know all of them. It's gone out of my memory now.
Yeah.
And to go out to Anna Green Gables and all those places. And you know, it's an island, Prince Edward Island, and there's water all around you everywhere, and there's so many things to see.
Yeah.
So many things to see.
Now that's
We
really,
went all over Prince Edward Island. Who was it? With Josephine Little and I. We'd take the car and we'd go off.
Yeah.
And we went across to Digby, and then we went up to that college up there, that big college up
Saint
there.
Francis Xavier.
Because she knew somebody up there and she wanted to see them. And then we went that night, we left there in the evening, and we went way down to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and you go cut right straight through the middle of Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to where all the old things are, what they used to fight with and everything. I don't know what you call it now. I didn't know everything about it now, but it's gone from my memory. And then we went away around by Peggy's Cove, and then we went away around to a French place up there on this side of I'm pointing just as if I was pointing it on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went clear around to Digby again, and then we went across, the what joins New Brunswick and Nova Scotia?
Bay of Fundy.
Well,
No, I don't.
there's a little, I've been through there, I've been up there.
Chignecto.
Yeah, the Straits of Chignecto or something?
Yeah, and then come right up through, and then one other time, we went this place on this side of Prince Edward Island, and that's the most antique things. I was up in Anne of Green Gables house, you know that book, don't you? I give those 3 books to Beth. She just thinks the world of those 3 books. She read the whole 3 of them. I read them. Did you ever read Anne of Green Gables?
I don't know, I think I
I
missed
was
that
all
one.
through her house. I was all through Anne of Green Gables.
Mm-hmm.
And all the things that, when you think of the way we live today and the way they used to live then, you just get your eyes opened, I'm telling you.
Can you think
And
of
I went across the harbor,
stories like you had?
across the Bay of Fundy, too. I went across the Bay of Fundy, over in the boat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you get good weather, it's nice, but if it's rough, it's rough. But
Yeah.
we got a good day. We
She
just
tells
drive the boat
story
right
of
on the,
when her
right on
grandfather
the
took her in
thing.
town in the
I'm so glad I saw this
in the
country.
wintertime.
Then
on
I
a
went,
horse and
when I
sleigh.
went to
They
Montreal,
took
I
the
went
sleigh
up,
over, going across the St. John River. See, that's how they used to cross the river in the wintertime, rather than
Mm-hmm.
go by train.
when we went to, left Fredericton, we went clear up every bit of New Brunswick, right from there, right straight up, and across to Campbellton there. That's right on the borderline between there and Quebec province. Of course, Quebec province is an awful big province, you know. And it was 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, we had traveled from a little after 6 at night till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Where were you
That's
going?
12 hours. We were on our way to get on the boat to England.
Oh, that, yeah,
Oh,
okay.
you told
See?
us that one, right?
And when this crash came at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was just starting to get daylight.
Yeah.
Then
Tell Greg about when you and Aunt Lil were little girls and how you used to go to St. John for the summer.
we used to go. They used to send for us every summer to go down St. John, because they used to. Mr. Appleton and Mrs. Appleton, they lived at our house when we were very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, they had come up from England too, and somebody in Marysville told them about Papa and Mama, you know, and they invited them up, and so they stayed there about 2 years.
This
And
is in
then
the other half of the house, or what?
No, they just lived with us. We were just little bits of kids then.
Oh.
And
Just tell about your boat rides down to St. John.
now you got me off the train.
Well,
Oh.
that's what the story we want to know. We want to know about
you used to go down to St. John for the
And
summer.
so he had asthma awful bad.
Right.
And he couldn't take it, the dry climate up in Fredericton, so he moved to St. John. See,
Right.
they had a house down there on Rodney Street. And from the time that we was about 7 or 8 years old, they used to send up for us in the summer holidays to come down for 2 weeks.
Who's us?
Mrs. Appleton,
Who went
You
down
went.
to?
Lil and I was about 9 and she was about 7 or
And
8
how
or
did you get
6
there?
or something. Well, this Victoria boat, a great big boat, left Fredericton every day and went to St. John. It's a whole day on the boat. You go to St. John, and then the next day it comes back up to Fredericton. See? And Papa used to put us on the boat, Lil and I. He'd take us down in the bus. There was no transportation of any sort then. Automobiles wasn't even thought of. I remember when I saw the first automobile. And we went down to St. John. He put us on the boat. And I can remember one time he gave us a bag of peanuts and we put the shells on the floor. And we was in, the captain was supposed to take care of us. Papa put us in charge of the captain, but the captain in charge of us, so otherwise. Well, anyway, he made us pick up the peanut shells. I can remember, we knew better, but we just did it.
Yeah.
And so we go down there, and Mrs. Appleton always met us right at that wharf, right down below Josephine's house.
The
that
house
wharf.
at Aunt Lil.
That's where the boat landed there. And she
Years
Mrs.
later,
Appleton-
Aunt Lil bought this house that do you remember Aunt Lil's house?
And the house was
Right at the
next
wharf.
door.
Well, this is when Mama and Aunt Lil were little girls, is where the boat would let them off, which was practically Aunt Lil's front door as
Yeah.
years later.
Years later,
Right.
Well, of course, Josephine has been living in that house ever since she was 3 or 4 years
But
old.
we'll still all
that house
always
there.
think of it as Aunt Lil's
Well,
house.
anyway, Mrs. Appleton would meet us at the boat, and then she'd take us across. And they had a ferry boat that went across to East St. John then. Not East St. John, West St. John. And she'd take us, and we'd get on the ferry boat and go. And we used to love that. It's only 5 cents to go on it. But it'd take about a half an hour. And then you'd get off at the wharf over on Rodney Street. And we'd stay there 2 weeks. She'd take us everywhere. She'd take us away down to La Pro, and she'd take us every place there'd be any picnics or anything. She used to wear the thickest glasses you ever saw. And Mr. Appleton, the two of them, would take us on all these trips and take us out to Rockwood Park, where all the animals were. They give us the most beautiful time. I'd go up to the store. I was big enough to go to the store and bring her down a loaf of bread or a few things like that up around the corner of Rodney Street. And we used to go down there every summer. She'd send up for us to come down for 2 weeks, and Papa put us on the boat. And then when we come back, she put us on the boat there at that wharf, right down by Lil's, and then we'd go up the St. John River, see, because you couldn't go any farther, because that's where the falls was, down there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mama, tell us a little, you haven't mentioned too much about Aunt Rose.
Rose was so much younger than us.
As years progressed, now, before Aunt
Well,
Rose died,
now,
where did Aunt Rose live before she died?
She lived out by Josephine's house.
Where
Right.
did she die from? What house?
She died from that house just down the road from Dot's house.
What's the name of the place?
The name of the place,
Cambridge.
Cambridge. The name is the whole
Well, what was it like up there?
beautiful. She had a beautiful home there.
Well, what kind of a home was it?
A beautiful house.
Old farmhouse.
Something
Was
on
it
this.
beautiful old
No, it
farmhouse?
wasn't a farmhouse at all. There was never any farmers around there. There was a big fields around it and everything.
But
But,
Aunt Lil was more of a simplistic type person as opposed to,
Oh,
she wasn't worldly like you and Aunt Lil. She lived in farms, she was a farmer's wife.
No, but there was
mean
so
Aunt
many
Rose?
years.
Aunt Rose.
There was so many years between the.
Well, that has nothing to do, I'm talking about when Aunt Rose got older. She had a beautiful old farmhouse and she still did all her preserving.
Oh, yes,
and
yes,
she
but
had,
that's where Darryl lives now. Darryl bought
no, I'm
that
talking
house.
about the house up in Cambridge, Mother. Where
Oh,
Aunt-
no, Cambridge, that was no farmhouse at all. It was fixed up beautiful. He
Well,
had that.
farmhouses are
He
beautiful.
done everything. He had the porches off the back of the house. He had them all cabineted in just like a house. Oh, it was beautiful.
Mama,
That
it
house.
was a
They lived
farmhouse.
there along, no.
It was a
They
gorgeous.
never had any farming. They never done any farming.
Well,
Rose.
gentleman farming, at the end of it, it was gentlemen, but it was the type of a farmhouse. sorry, it isn't your, my memory's in yours. Huh?
They had a big garden, a vegetable or flower garden in the front, and a swing, a lawn swing, and we used to sit out there all the time, watch the cars go up the street and everything. Well, Dot lived, she lived on this side of the street, and Dot lived on the other side of the street, away up. It'd take you about 10 minutes to walk up to Dot's house, but you could look from Dot's house and see the lights on in Lil's house, see?
Yep.
On this side, and the night that Rose died, that she died by, she took sick, and I think Dot had gone to choir practice, and Sandy used to walk from the house to see the car, you know, the lights was on, and all of a sudden the lights came on. It was Dot come from practice, and she said, "We better go down and see if your mother's all right," she said. They went down, and she was having a heart attack, and they put her in they called an ambulance from St. Stephen or someplace, I don't know where they called it from, where's the nearest place, anyway, and when she died before she got to the hospital.
Mama, how many children did Aunt Rose have?
6.
What were the
3
names?
girls and 3 boys.
What were the names?
The oldest one was
Daryl.
no, Daryl wasn't
Dot.
the oldest. Dot was the oldest. Then Daryl, and then Charles, and then the one that's out in
Barbara.
Barbara, and then Kenneth, and then Dougie. She was
Now, and how many children did Uncle Frank have?
4. He had 4 boys.
And what were their names? Approximate ages? Kenny,
Dickie, Bobby,
Kenny,
Kenny. No,
Eddie.
Kenny was the last one.
Eddie,
Eddie and
Kenny.
and the other.
Where are they now?
They lived down there, just around St. John.
No, Mother, Uncle Frank's kids live in Somerville, and
I don't know where they are. They're all squandered all around. They're
Mother,
all
Uncle
married.
Frank's children
They're
always
from-
came from the North Shore. They live in either Medford, Somerville, Melrose, up around there. His children never came from Canada.
No. Frank's kids were born up here. All of them was born up here. He got married up
They're
here.
on the other side of Boston someplace. We haven't seen them for a lot of years.
Oh, they lived in Somerville for a while, and they lived in Medford for a while. They lived around a lot of places because he was a mechanic, and he went from one place to another. But
So
the
these are
last,
your cousins?
the last
Yeah, these are all Betty's
they're my nieces and nephews. The last place they lived in was
And how many children did Uncle George have?
George had 4. One
And
girl.
what were their names?
Bobby and Muriel was next, and Muriel and Kenny.
They all had a lot of Kennys, huh?
Donnie, no Kenny, not
No,
Uncle
Donnie
Frank.
was the last one.
George.
George Jr.
And where do they live now? In what areas?
He lives down in Halifax. They bought a place down there, but right now he's the one that's laid up.
All right, but one lives in Halifax, one lived down the Cape.
Well, has a nice place down the island down there where the tide comes in.
The Cape Cod.
Huh?
Cape Cod.
No, not that far down.
Well, all right, Plymouth, down the Plymouth area.
Down where
And Muriel, where does Muriel live?
Muriel lives in Newton Highlands.
Newton Highlands, right. She does a great deal of traveling. Her husband
Oh,
does
she's
a
been
good
to
job.
Japan, she's been to China, she's been all over everywhere. Her husband,
And then Donnie
he's the one
was
that works
Frank's
for the
baby.
MIT. What is it?
MIT.
And then Donnie is the one that made the career, serve a career in the Air Force.
Yeah, Donnie.
Yeah, and he
Donnie.
lost the
These
little
are
boy.
George's kids, right?
He's Uncle George, Mama's oldest boys, yeah. And
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 his
Donnie
youngest,
was the one who
little
lost his.
boy. He got killed, he
Don't
took him
go
up
into
the
those,
airport.
Mother,
to
don't tell those, that he just tragically had a tragic death. Don't go into those details.
You are?
He had Donnie's little boy had a tragic death, right?
Yes, a tragic death.
Just leave that.
He ran out in front of one of those big
Don't
machines
listen
and
to that.
got killed when he was 4 years old.
Okay.
It
yeah.
broke his heart.
All right, we know that, but of course it did.
So
He's
tell
okay.
me a little bit about the Hawkins side.
I don't know too much about the Hawkins side.
Well, how many brothers and sisters did Daddy
One
have?
girl and seven boys.
What were their names?
Guy, Nell, Harold, Carl, Roy, and Lloyd,
Wilbur.
and Wilbur, and
Arnold.
what's the last one?
Arnold.
Arnold. Yeah.
Did we get them all?
I
Yeah.
think we did. I hope we did.
That's eight. That's how many they had.
Yeah.
And only one girl, and she died last December. She was nearly as old. She was about the same age as I am.
And Uncle Lloyd's the one that is still alive, and he lives down in
And he's very miserable. I got a letter from.
Pocasset, and Uncle Arnold is the one that
He
lives
lives
in
in
Hanover. and
Monument Beach. She lives in Monument Beach.
Has the place in St. Thomas.
Jerry, tell me what you were telling me before about the Hawkinses. About where they they were in America for a while and stuff.
Oh, Aunt Helen, just recently, the last week or so, she was here before she went back to Florida, and she said that she understood that Grampy Hawkins's people came from New Jersey, and at the beginning of the Revolutionary War, that they were loyalists, and that they left New Jersey and went to Canada, and this is where why they.
That's
they
how they
stayed
ended
in
up in
Canada.
Canada.
That's how they ended up in Canada.
Yeah, and they stayed up there all this time.
And I had never heard that before until Aunt Helen. Somebody
Well,
must
I
have
don't
told
know
Aunt
how
Helen.
Helen heard it. I never heard anything about it from Roy.
I've always
Any of the
heard
family.
I've always heard the joke that there was a little tiny bit of Indian in the Hawkinses.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if that was action or blood.
Rebel sounds like to me.
But I think that's where the rebel comes from.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, Nana, we're starting to run out of film here.
now. Did you talked about Betty and how many children Betty has?
Betty who?
Your daughter, your oldest daughter Betty.
She's got two girls.
How many children did Betty have?
6. Ricky and Bobby, and then Greg and Mary Ellen and Beth and John.
Yeah. Who do you like the best?
I love everybody. I love everybody. Every blessed.
And how many children did Philip have? Does your son have?
My Philip had 3 girls and 3 boys.
What's their names?
What?
What's their names?
Danny
Stephen.
and Stephen
Yeah.
and Kathy and Kathy. No, not Kathy. Ann and Kathy. Let me see. Ann. No, Kathy was born first. Now wait till I see. What did I say the first one? Oh, Danny. He's in Germany.
Uh-huh.
And
Stephen.
Stephen, and he's up in where we
Alaska.
catch fish, Alaska. and then Kathy and Ann, and then John. He's in the Navy.
Mhm.
And
And Tracy.
and Tesser. We all called her Tesser. She's in the 2nd year in college.
Now, who's your third child? Do you
Well,
remember?
geez, I don't know. Nana.
Oh, I know all yours. I can see.
All right,
them.
and who were they?
Ricky and Michael and Philip and Jerry or Patty.
That's just to get a film of it, just so that people, in years to come, they'll know who everybody came from, right? Oh, and then do you have any grandchildren? Any great-grandchildren?
Me? I
Who
got,
was your first, who was your first grandchild?
Ricky,
Great-grandchild.
Ricky.
Great-grandchild.
Great-great-grandchild.
No, you're right. Great-grandchild.
Jennifer.
Great-grandchild now.
Michael's Michael's children.
Who Michael's children? Yeah.
I don't know those 2 kids. Michael's. Ricky, Jonathan and Jennifer. I know them.
Those are your grandchildren, great-grandchildren. You have 3, how many great-grandchildren do you have?
5.
Great-grandchildren, Mama.
5, not counting my
She's right.
step-grandchildren.
She's right, Danny's going.
What?
That's right, of course you do.
What?
I was thinking that I still was the only grandparent. I forgot that my brother finally took over the honors, right.
That's right.
So you have 5 grandchildren.
Then I have.
Jennifer, Jonathan, Brittany.
Right.
And little
Mark.
Mark, and now little Jeremy.
I don't know either one of those names. Mark is his name. Who's
Danny's baby.
Danny's baby's name is Mark.
Danny Hawkins' baby in Germany.
By the way, she's going to have another one.
Danny's having another baby?
Yeah, Ann told me the other night, but it's not till way next year. She's very tickled. She lost her second one, you know,
Yeah.
just 2 months, and she lost it and it broke her heart.
Yeah.
A little girl too.
Yeah.
They want a little girl, 'cause he gets out of the service, you know, in October, next October.
Mhm.
Okay, that was good.
He's a first lieutenant now.
Yeah.
And then he's going back to teaching again.
Mhm. I don't know.
Kathy's teaching. She's got a,
Well, Nita, we're gonna kind of wrap it up now. What do you think of all this stuff? All this recording stuff?
well, it isn't very much to me now, but it might mean something to you people when you get, when I'm gone.
Another 30, 40 years?
Your great-grandchildren will be looking at it.
If you could say something to your great-great-grandchildren, Nana, now, what would it be?
But I say,